My friend and mentor, Mortis Media, begins his narrations with the phrase, "And let the darkness take control." But exactly what would happen if it did? If the darkness did take control? In his book, strangely enough, author C.B. Colby describes the following incident when the darkness did take control throughout New England on May the 19th, 1780. Colby says the day began normally, clear and bright, except for some haze to the southwest. But as the day progressed, the sky became progressively darker and full of clouds scudding rapidly towards the northeast and the Canadian border. By 1 in the afternoon, it was so dark that candles and lanterns had to be lit. School was dismissed, but the churches were open, as many people thought the day of judgment had finally arrived. But at the legislature in Hartford, Connecticut, it was business as usual, even though it was so dark the members could hardly see each other. According to C.B. Colby, at this point, one stalwart addressed the speaker. "Mr. Speaker, this is either the day of judgment or it is not. If it is, I desire to be found doing my duty. I move that candles be brought in and that we proceed to business." And, according to Colby, they did proceed. The darkness continued in control all evening, the lantern light giving everything a greenish glow, and when the full moon appeared at 1 a.m., it was blood red, which indicates to me that the darkness may have been caused by intense smoke from a large prairie or forest fire. I saw similar blood-red moons last summer on smoky nights here in Saskatchewan, when the area was plagued by a number of humongous forest fires. Still, the arrival of the blood moon seemed to herald the end of the event, and the sun came up next morning. What do you think caused this unusual event, dear listeners? Do you agree with me? It was probably the result of intense smoke from a forest fire? John Robert Colombo is Canada's master gatherer and could be considered a Canadian version of Charles Fort. His book, The Monster Book of Canadian Monsters, features a number of old newspaper and other accounts of both cryptids and strange events, one of which is The Dark Day in Canada, from the May 21st, 1881 edition of Scientific American. The story concerns what Colombo calls the phenomenon of 1819. The date was Tuesday, November the 10th, 1819. From the article, quote, "On the morning of Tuesday the 10th, heavy clouds again covered the sky and changed rapidly from a deep green to a pitchy black, and the sun, which was occasionally seen through them, was sometimes of a dark brown or an unearthly yellow color, and again bright orange and even blood red. The clouds constantly deepened in color and intensity, and later on a heavy vapor seemed to descend to the earth, and the day became almost as dark as night, the bloom increasing and diminishing most fitfully. At noon, lights had to be burned in the courthouse, the banks, and the public offices of that city. Everyone was more or less alarmed, and many were the conjectures as to the cause of the remarkable occurrence. End of quote. Many in Montreal thought the darkness was caused by prairie fires from out west or by volcanic activity, but many of the superstitious thought the end of the world was occurring, and they remembered an old First Nations legend which foretold the destruction of Montreal by earthquake. By afternoon, the clouds had become even darker. Suddenly, there was a brilliant flash of lightning, then a tremendous clap of thunder, which, and I quote, seemed to shake the city to its foundations. End of quote. This was followed by a shower of soapy and sooty rain. Sooty rain. An iron cross atop a church steeple was hit by lightning, resulting in a display of St. Elmo's fire, before the cross fell to the ground and shattered. But the fall of the cross marked the beginning of the end of the phenomena of 1819, and the sun rose normally the next day. While the mysterious darkness seemed to be centered on Montreal, its effects were felt as far away as both Kingston and Quebec, as well as down in the U.S. As John Robert Colombo notes, this particular dark day was unusual for its, quote, untypical electrical and luminous effects. End of quote. Another account in the Monster Book of Canadian Monsters is called Veiled in Inky Gloom, and it quotes a news account entitled Thick Darkness, which originally appeared in the Winnipeg Daily Times of September the 15th, 1881. On September 5th, 1881, a similar dark day occurred at Goderich, Ontario. Goderich, Ontario, a small port on Lake Huron. The summer of 81 had been especially hot and dry, with the air full of smoke from wildfires. But on September the 5th, quote, about noon, clouds were observed gathering in the west and south. At 1 o'clock, those who lunched at that hour found no little difficulty in distinguishing articles on the table, and shortly thereafter lamps had to be brought into requisition. From this out, the gloom thickened. At 2, it was with great difficulty one could read large print out of doors. 3 gave every appearance of midnight, and half an hour thereafter the entire town and surrounding country was veiled in inky gloom. No sun, no moon, no stars, no noon, no proper time of day. The blackness of midnight reigned supreme. The hand held before the eye, within 3 inches of the face, could not be seen. To lend awe and the sublime to the scene, the intense blackness was ever and anon lit up by brilliant flashes of lightning, and the reverberating thunder alone broke the painful stillness. End of quote. Some believed the end of the world was at hand, as a red glare like that of a huge fire appeared on the eastern horizon. Quote, and the reflection from this somewhat relieved the gloom and enabled people to see as well as upon an ordinary moonless night, but no better. And there it remained through the remainder of the afternoon and night, and not till the following morning, when Old Soul put in an appearance as usual, and in his usual place, were apprehensions entirely removed, and the alarmed ones really convinced that all was indeed well. End of quote. While the darkness was in control, a light rain, filled with ashes, covered everything with a disgusting soot. The cause of the terrible darkness? Lake captains, calling in at Goderich, reported huge forest fires along the shores of both Lake Huron and Lake Superior, which were held responsible for the dark day. But what do you think, dear listeners? Were these especially dark days caused by smoke from huge fires or volcanic activity? Or do you believe they were the results of alien and supernatural causes? Have you ever experienced an unusually dark day like those described above? Please share your thoughts, opinions, and experiences in the comments below. And stay safe, stay subscribed, ring the bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and feel free to share this video with anyone you please. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. My name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring such cryptids as the Night Floaters, werewolves, and the Black-Eyed Children. So again, please consider subscribing. Please help me to reach my goal of 2,500 subs in 2022. Till midnight. Cheers. Pictures used in today's video, courtesy of Pix here, that's PX here, while the music was the classic Lightless Dawn by that patron of the internet, Kevin MacLeod.